So people are getting doxxed and they're getting fired from their jobs because of things they're saying about Charlie Kirk's death online. I already made another video where I condemned all political violence, including condemning Charlie's murder, of course, but I want to talk about how dangerous this is for free speech. On one hand, I understand that many employees have at-will employment, so their employer can terminate them at any time for any reason, especially if you're working for a private company, and they see that what you're saying online violates their values. I have no problem at all allowing private companies and businesses to do that. The problem is, and I'll get into more detail, people are getting suspended and fired from their jobs, not just for celebrating Charlie's death. Like some people are outright saying, I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad that he got shot in the neck. Like, fuck him. That's horrible. But the problem is, those aren't the only people getting fired and suspended from their jobs. It's also people who are expressing a lack of sympathy. People who have posted online, look, I feel bad for his wife and his kids, of course, but I don't feel any sympathy for the man. People who are just posting that are getting fired. And that's crazy. Because in no way is stating your lack of sympathy for him inciting future violence. And that's kind of like the crux of the argument for many conservatives, is that if you go online to celebrate this death, it'll empower more political violence. To reiterate, I am not against employers firing people for violating their values. I am against people getting let go from their jobs merely because of expressing discontent with Charlie Kirk, saying that they hated him. Some people online who are left of center have been saying, yeah, I feel bad for the wife and kids, but Charlie Kirk was a terrible person and I have no sympathy for his death. That's what many people are saying. And it turns out there's a whole lot of people in that camp. People who truly condone political violence, people who express sorrow and sympathy for Charlie's wife and family, but also expressed that they hated Charlie because they think he was really bad and that he did a bunch of horrible things and said disparaging comments about women, minorities, black people, other marginalized groups throughout his entire career, so they don't feel sympathy for his death. There's a lot of people in that camp, and as I'm about to show you here in a moment, NPR reported on this, so I'm going to show you an article. Conservative activists are compiling, they're collecting social media posts and profiles of all the people they can find who fall into this camp. Of course, you know, the extreme minority who are celebrating his death, celebrating the way it happened, saying he deserved it, all that stuff. And also the majority left of center who are saying, I condone the violence, I feel bad for his family, I don't want anyone to get murdered like this ever. But also, I just don't feel sympathy for him because he spent the better part of the last decade contributing to the polarization and the radicalization of the political landscape here in the United States. And some are saying, unfortunately, he was a victim of a monster that he helped create. A monster which is a vicious, violent political culture here in the United States that is quite unique among developed nations. So conservative activists are compiling lists of people who are both extreme and people who are expressing much less extreme opinions about the situation. And these activists are going down the list of these people and their social media profiles, and they are doing research, they're doxing them, and they are trying to get these people fired. They're calling their employers because they're upset, they're triggered that these left of center people are not falling on their knees crying over Charlie's death. At the end of this video, I'm going to explain just how hypocritical this whole project is. During the last 15 years or so online, conservatives have been screaming from the rooftops that they are the side of freedom, of liberty, of free speech. And they've been saying that the left is triggered, that they are weak, that they're snowflakes, that they can't handle a joke, that they need to man up, that free speech should be absolute. I'll talk about that at the end, but first let's get into this article. It's really important. It's from NPR. The article is titled, People Are Losing Jobs Due to Social Media Posts About Charlie Kirk. I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'll give you the highlight reel. Over 30 people across the country have been fired, put on leave, investigated, or faced calls to resign because of social media posts criticizing Charlie Kirk or expressing indifference about his assassination earlier this week. And the article says many more are to come because GOP lawmakers and officials are signaling their readiness to punish people for their speech. And then, like I alluded to a minute ago, conservative activists are collecting and publicizing social media posts and profiles that they say celebrated his death and are calling for them to lose their jobs. The article says, right-wing political influencer Joey Manorino said, if they have their picture on their profile, even without a name, download the picture and reverse image search it, cross-reference it with their LinkedIn profile, and find their place of employment. Call the place of employment, leave Google reviews. This is insane. There has been a plethora of political violence just in the last 5 or 10 years. Most notably before Charlie's murder was the assassination of 2 Democratic politicians in Minnesota, a story that was barely covered in conservative news outlets. An act of political violence that did not make the headlines like Charlie's did, even though those assassinations were on government officials, people who were actually politicians, whereas Charlie was just a regular dude giving his opinion everywhere all the time. And I went back and listened to the coverage from some of the conservative outlets that talked about that assassination of the Democratic politicians in Minnesota. Many of them expressed obvious indifference about the situation. The same expression that many people left of center are now getting fired for expressing indifference. These are the people who are saying, I condemn violence, I condemn political violence, I actually feel bad for his family and his wife and his kids for having experienced that, to watch him die in front of them, but I have no sympathy for Charlie because he was a terrible person. You should not get fired for that. I'm sorry. I don't even know if you should get fired for, and this might be a hot take, for actually celebrating it too. Now, I'm not that person. I haven't done that at all. But even the people who are making jokes about it online, saying, good, he deserved it, rotten hell, those people, I don't even know if they should be fired. Now, like I said, if a private company wants to fire that employee because it violates some of their core values, then I understand that. But at the very least, these right-wing activists and influencers who are collecting the names of anyone who say things anything other than condolences, it's outright crazy that those people are getting doxxed and attacked by the right-wing machine right now. Some Republican elected officials, along with the right-wing influencers with large followings, including Laura Loomer and libs of TikTok, they're sharing screenshots of offending posts and demanding action. These same accounts, libs of TikTok, Laura Loomer, who have often previously advocated for free speech absolutism, or at the very least a more watered down version of that, but it's just insane hypocrisy to see that. NPR compiled a list of news reports of 33 people who have lost their jobs or are under investigation over the posts. Most were public school teachers, with at least 21 educators in school districts across the country fired. At least 21 teachers have been fired, put on leave, or placed under investigation by their employers. Firefighters, members of the military, a sports reporter, an employee of the Carolina Panthers, city council officials are facing similar treatment. This is one of the more disgusting facts of the situation. There's a website set up anonymously called Expose Charlie's Murderers. The site corrals social media posts and the names, locations, and employment of people deemed to have been celebrating Charlie's death. As of Friday morning, the site featured over 40 people, and the organizers claim that it is being converted into a mass searchable database of over 20,000 entries. A public school teacher who was put on leave and is under investigation from their school district, they got suspended for saying this: Charlie Kirk died the same way he lived, bringing out the worst in people. Now, nowhere in that do I see a call for violence. What the teacher said was quite harsh, but I've seen thousands of people say incredibly much worse things on social media about people's deaths, about politicians, about leaders. These people are absolute snowflakes if I've ever seen it. If someone that I looked up to greatly was murdered in cold blood, someone who was important to me, someone who helped shape my worldview, yeah, I might be upset when people are celebrating their death, but just because I'm upset doesn't mean I should ruin people's lives because people are posting their harsh opinions. I thought the right was supposed to be about free speech. I thought that was their whole thing. I get it. These comments don't make you feel good. You might be offended by these comments. And I'm not even condoning these at all. I think it's pretty distasteful to be celebrating a death like this. But that's all it is to me, is distasteful. If my favorite politician got killed, I'm not going to say who it is, but they are very, very left. I would see thousands and thousands of comments from the right, from the conservatives, joking about it. For sure. It happens both ways. There's crazy people online on both sides. But am I going to be a snowflake and call their employer to make sure they lose their job because what they said made me feel bad because I got offended? No. Hell no. That's crazy. A firefighter in Louisiana said, I think he should be forced to carry that bullet in his body. That bullet has the right to be there because it's a gift from God. That is very harsh. And I don't condone those words, because saying that bullet is a gift from God, sentiment like that could empower others and incite more violence, but it's not guaranteed to. Someone saying something doesn't guarantee the effect of someone seeing it and being empowered to commit more violence. That's not guaranteed. So no, this person shouldn't get fired either. Although it's distasteful, should they receive some public shame? Probably, but that's it. This is also insane. U.S. Representative, so a member of Congress, Clay Higgins from Louisiana posted, he plans to use congressional authority and every influence with big tech platforms to mandate immediate ban for life for every post or commenter that belittled the assassination. And that could be up for interpretation, what it means to belittle the situation. Furthermore, he said, I'm also going after their business licenses and permitting. Their businesses will be blacklisted aggressively. They should be kicked from every school, and their driver's license should be revoked. What? This guy is trying to cancel free speech. Is it speech that is bad? Perhaps. Is it distasteful? Yep. Is it offensive? Probably. But 99% of these distasteful comments that I'm reading online, maybe more than 99%, are not inciting more violence. They're expressing harsh opinions about a person who they thought was really bad. This happens all the time. Why the outrage now about this? I'll put the article in the description of this video so you can go read the rest of it. But I just want to end the video by saying how hypocritical it is for the right-wing machine. A lot of conservatives online are calling for the deplatforming, the firing from their jobs. Some are saying they should lose their driver's licenses. Like insane crackdowns on free speech that we have not seen before in modern US history in the past 50 years or so. We didn't even see this level of outrage and crackdown of free speech after Trump almost got assassinated. Donald Trump had an assassination attempt on his life, and that didn't even have a fraction of the level of censorship that this situation is getting. How does that make sense? The president versus a political commentator. Like what? It's just so frustrating to see this. And I'm not even saying, I haven't said one time, and I don't believe that conservatives who are offended and outraged over distasteful comments, I'm not saying you shouldn't feel that way. Like I said earlier, Charlie was very influential to many conservative people. People who I know have publicly posted online and said, Charlie was one of the major players in shaping my worldview. There's no doubt that this guy was beloved in many right-wing spaces. So when people are joking or belittling his murder, I understand feeling outraged and upset. I'm not saying you can't feel that way. What I'm saying, though, is it's extremely hypocritical for you not to say a damn thing about the Democratic politicians who got murdered in Minnesota, but all of a sudden are outraged now that your guy got murdered. And anyone who doesn't get on their knees and express their condolences, you're trying to get them fired from their job. You're trying to deplatform them. They're getting doxxed to the high heavens. It's extremely hypocritical. Extremely. And you know damn well that if a certain U.S. senator from Vermont had political violence done to him, and perhaps he passed away from it, there would be celebration in the street from many right-wing people because they view him as evil. They've thrown dirt on his name for 50 years, calling him a socialist, a communist, which he's not even either of those things. He's a democratic socialist, not a socialist, and certainly not a communist. But like what many right-wing Twitter accounts say, they say we kill commies. And that kind of sentiment has done a lot of harm to the political landscape in America. If you watch this all the way through, thank you. If you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, I would love to make more videos in the future. If you like it and subscribe and leave a comment letting me know your opinions, doing all of that lets me know that people are interested in hearing what I have to say. It helps me out a lot. So thank you for listening. Have a good night.